Now, we tackle stories apparently deemed untouchable by that lowest level of swift intuition, mainstream media. For example, the existence or non-existence of Reynard the Fox, at one point hosting a $5,000 reward for a freshly killed fox. 3 years that ran, $5,000 is not insignificant, and it's remained unclaimed. But the feds have poured in $60 million into the great fox hunt, and they've laid thousands, if not millions, of 1080 baits all over the bloody island. Scandalous. Yep. We published comments which became an investigation of the science behind the super trawler Margiris, renamed the Able Tasman. What an insult. I mean, how dare they? Before I do a little potted history of the astonishing resistance to the poisonous proposal to build one of the world's biggest forest ingesters in one of the world's most beautiful valleys, studded with wineries, olive groves, restaurants, and recuperative nooks and crannies. This resistance was crucial to a denial of social licence to Guns Limited, and then the denial of this once mighty behemoth's very existence. And I'm going to hand over to Tasmanian Times' first Tasmanian of the year, Dr Alison Bleaney, to tell you who it is. Find out.
I feel like Manuel, you know, I know nothing. Actually, I feel a bit when listening to Lindsay tell the story, it's not like parallel universes, it's like, you know, all these disparate holograms that we're all living in, and finally it's come together and Guns is no more and here we are, so maybe we should yes, maybe we should pay attention to the holograms. Anyway, I am now going to open this and find out who the Tasmanian Times of 2012 is. So I'm going to rip this open. And I'm going to read what it says here. It says, it's a hymn. For his strong and consistent leadership in adversity, his courage and care for the truth in the interests of the people of Tasmania. And the winner is Robert McMahon.
Intellectual foundations of our great campaign that's been going now for 8 years, since, as Dave Groves says, Les Rochester popped up in the Tamar. And I returned from Chile to realise there was a big opposition to a pulp mill, and I came back from Chile opposed to the pulp mill because of what I saw in Chile. I subsequently went back to Chile to check on the whole thing to ensure that I was right in my first apprehension. Now, in relation to the plantations, we saw that the MIS were being used to leverage a pulp mill into existence. That was the whole push from the government, what can I say, paid consultants, Jaco Poiri. They went to third world countries, talked governments into promoting plantations. You then leverage pulp mills into existence. Our third world countries and Australia, in particular Tasmania. Now, those who've given us all the information in relation to finance, John Lawrence, a great writer for Tasmanian Times, way ahead of his time. In years to come, people will look at what John Lawrence has written and will base their historical analysis upon those forensic analyses that he has done. I remember Tom Ellison and myself Frank Streed, John Day, Rod Hutchins, I think maybe Ross, I'm not quite sure, visited or were invited to talk to the Premier, Lara Giddy. Tom Ellison laid out the intestines of guns for her to see. It was obvious. You know, they were going to go bankrupt, he made it very clear, and she summed up. Her response was, but Tom and Bob, she said, there's much more to business than you and I will ever know. And Tom said, no, there bloody isn't. And I mumbled, you're the bloody treasurer. So we thank Warwick Gravity from the bottom of our hearts, because that was a beacon of light. You have no idea when you came up. Let's talk about our approach to forestry, just very, very briefly. I want to mention the names of those people. Our own Frank Stree, of course. Indispensable. Lindsay mentioned our great, assault on David Bartlett at Beaconsfield when we belted all the pots and pans. And backdoor Bartlett, of course, had to go through the back door. And they called in the SWAT squad, But we'd already gone an hour later. This is very Tasmanian. They were an hour late. We'd already gone. It's Bob Gordon, Barry Chipman, Paul Lusting and Mike Boland. But Mike Boland was unbelievably funny. It was hilarious. He got Bob Gordon and Chippers so confused that Chippers, in the end, voted against the pulp mill. And Chippers had this little analogy with slate. That's right. Remember slate? If we didn't have paper, we'd have to use slate, like slate to wipe our behinds. Anyway, it was completely fatuous. It was the funniest moment, and Mike Boland was responsible for that. And I'm including in this trio Peter Henning, because Peter Henning, along with Wilson and Boland, have produced what I call the bigger picture. Over these past bunch of years, they've killed satire. All you can do in Tasmania now is documentary.
That's pretty funny.
So Dave Groves, of course, wonderful stuff. Carl Stevens.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thanks very much.
Well,